What's happening, everybody? You guys are tuned in to the Chappy Bengals Podcast. It is Monday, February 10th, day after the Super Bowl. We got a lot to unpack here. A lot to unpack. Chappy, how are you doing today, man? After the big game, how are we feeling?
Oh man, I've never been. I just said this. I've never been so happy to lose money on a game in my entire life. That was blissful in every sense of the word. Oh my God, we lost. I know you and I both bet. We were both saying, "Fuck, we're gonna bet on this game. We're gonna roll. We know what it is." There's no way that the Chiefs lose. There's no way that the Chiefs lose. So we fucking finally were like, you know what? Let's go with the enemy here. Let's just pick our guy. Let's go with Mahomes. He's going to do this three-peat. Absolutely. And what do we get? We get the Eagles absolutely stomping the shit out of the Kansas City Chiefs. I was losing my mind. I was just the whole time in the bar, I'm yelling fucking Chiefs money line. I'm just going Chiefs money line because I'm thrilled that every single thing is just going the other way. And I was just shocked and in awe and in love with it. I was like, oh my God, there was calls. There was a smash to Mahomes' face. Not one fucking flag went up. I was like, this is great. And it was so funny because the way that game started with that call against AJ Brown, I was like, here we fucking go.
Man,
here we
everybody
go.
Was saying that.
Here
everybody
we go. And I'm like, if we're not doubling down on this bet, I don't know what we're doing. And then just not a single call after that.
It was nothing.
Just like, how does it feel?
It's actually the opposite. It went how does it feel? Like the refs were almost like spitting on the Chiefs with the no calls, all the calls against the Chiefs. It was it felt like the entire season and all the calls that went the Chiefs' way and all of the referee narrative that happened just got absolutely dumped in that game.
Yep.
And they didn't give a fuck about the Chiefs. It was amazing to see, but it was also like, wow, like we're really witnessing this right now. Like it was crazy to take in. But to kind of start with, we both talked. First of all, Vegas won this game for sure. There was, I don't know if you took the unders, sure you did great.
Yeah.
Anybody who was on the over side of things, you lost. You lost a lot of money. So I can sit up here and say that I lost money. Now, this is probably the one and only time that I'll ever be this happy losing the amount of money I did on that game because of that outcome, just like you said, Chappy.
Yeah.
But we all know how it was kind of remarkable just to see how this even played out. Like, what were your thoughts on Kansas City's basically a no-show the entire game here?
Well, the biggest thing is like Patrick Mahomes was just a fucking dumpster fire. Like every single play that this guy was making was just awful. Like he did not pick it up. He didn't get anything going. There was no rhythm to the game. You could just tell that like the way that, and it was crazy. I don't know if you saw the stat on that, but Eagles didn't blitz the entire game. They didn't have one blitz, and they got 6 sacks and just that much pressure. And we had talked about this right before the game. We're like, hey, weak side on the defensive end and the right tackles. Like, I think this might be a game changer here. We're still going Eagles, we're still going Chiefs, but fuck it. We're thinking it more offensively. We were like, okay, so what does that mean? That means he dumps it to Juju and fucking Travis, and those are going to be the plays that he makes. And the first thing he does, 2 passes to Juju, so we knocked that one out of the park.
First quarter, he hit his over.
Like first 2 passes essentially, and then obviously the Travis plays were there too. And so that was clearly like we had that right. But I was just more shocked at just how quickly they were getting up on him. And then just really and truly like Mahomes' just lack of making a play. Like he was throwing the ball into the ground. He wasn't getting a good grip on the ball. You could tell there was just various things that were not going his way. And then that on top of the calls, I was like, oh my God, this is so funny because it's just so completely not what you expect out of Patrick Mahomes, especially after what we were just talking about playoff greatness. Like that was probably, it has to be his worst game that he has ever played in the playoffs, like by a huge margin. What were you thinking?
Maybe not even the playoffs, like entire
ever.
Career.
I agree. Yeah.
I think so. Let's sit here and let's kind of break this down. I think immediate reaction was like we knew this was going to be the best defensive line that KC has played. and Philly's D line is dominant. Like Jalen Carter, Jordan Davis, like these guys are absolute monsters. And I think they pinned their ears back and they were out for blood in this game. And they came out and said, like, we're sick of this three-peat narrative and this and that. And I just think they were out for blood, man. And like you said, they didn't have to blitz to get that much pressure on him. And this guy had no time to do a damn thing. Now, I will say, this is what happens when you have guys like DeAndre Hopkins, Travis Kelce, who looks slow out there. When you don't have time to throw, your receivers have to win routes a lot faster than expected, right? You're not winning routes with D-Hop and Travis Kelce now. The pressure is just getting there, and I thought Patrick Mahomes was going to be able to scramble a little bit more. He couldn't even scramble because they were getting to him so much. It was pretty incredible to see, I will say. But at the same time, man, Kansas City looked just really slow. Just like Mahomes looked slow.
Well, they looked pedestrian for the first, not even the first time. Like, I feel like this offense has been pedestrian all season long. Just obviously they've had a lot of breaks their way, but they've also just been able to have their defense keep them in all these games and just were able to score enough, right? Like the Bills game was the first time that they scored over 30, right? And like, this team was not an offensive juggernaut by any means. They've been riding Patrick Mahomes' ability to make plays in big moments the entire season long. And then when you go, punt, int, like you're basically fucked at that point. Yeah. And it showed, like that score was crazy at halftime. Like I was just like, there's no way and we had talked about this because we were going back and forth about like an in play and saying, hey, like, when does this make it make sense? And I said, absolutely not now. Like I can't foresee, like, it's been done. What was it, Brady with 25? Right? Yeah. But like, unless they didn't score in the first 6 minutes of that third quarter, they weren't coming back. And as soon as they didn't, and it was just again the same shit again on the next drive in the third, I was like, this game is fucking done. And I remember texting my buddies. I was like, yo, they might lose by like 20 or 23. Like this game is gonna get out of hand quick. And it did.
It did. But you look at it, and it's kind of almost like you're shocked, but you're not at the same time, because you felt like this was going to happen at some point if KC played a team that was just better. And I can't say there are many teams that are built like Philadelphia, but they have talent everywhere. And I got to, man, hats off to Howie Roseman and the fucking roster that he's assembled, and just going out there and getting talent everywhere and putting that team in a position, because they are dominant everywhere. And to walk away out of the draft this past year with like Cooper DeJean and Quinyon Mitchell and these studs, it's like, why these teams that are passing on talent, the Eagles are just scooping them, and man, they are an absolute juggernaut. And I saw that they're the odds-on favorite to win the Super Bowl next year, and I mean, rightfully so. They look like the best team in the NFL, right? Clearly.
Like, I think
they put it on display last night for sure too. That was remarkable.
It was insane. Like, it was just it went to show. And so prior to doing like the Super Bowl preview, right, where I'm going through all of the like teams that Kansas City has faced, and I'm looking at the running backs too, and I'm going like, okay, like, who does this team face? Like, we were talking about Saquon, and we were talking about how that can be a big game changer, and he was effectively shut down, right? We were definitely, I was wrong on that one. I thought he would break through. They did go to him, 26 times, but I think the crazy part to it was, you look at that team and you're like, okay, so they can't go through Saquon here, but all the teams that they've played, Las Vegas, like these guys that they repeatedly play all season long, they don't have a major game-breaking running back, to the point where, we talk about the defense and the offense here. Like, Philly is just a completely different team than they've faced all season long. Like, the Bills would have been the highest threat with James Cook and Josh Allen in that run game, and that's it. Like, apart from them, and they gave them the loss. So, like, it was like kind of walking into them, setting them up for this, and saying, like, you haven't faced anything like this all season long, and now you're going to go in against Philly, which doesn't only just have a run game, they have an elite passing attack too when it comes to just the talent that's on the edges here. And it it took over. Like it was this, you could tell that they didn't have to do much, and their defense was just night and day better than Kansas City's, and it was crazy. It was actually just wild to see. If Kansas City's deep couldn't stop them, nothing was going to win that game.
Yeah. I was a little confused with their game plan with everything because they just, first of all, I think we're at the point where we've seen this Chiefs offense that from the very get-go of that game, there was no intention to run the ball on Kansas City's side of things. Like, they came out and it was Patrick Mahomes drops back every single play. And to me, like, I get it. They have a great run defense, but to just abandon the run so quickly, just down 7 points, that was a little shocking to not even attempt to get the run game going, because I just don't think you're going to win this game if you let those guys tee off on Patrick Mahomes. And we talked about the receivers lacking separation down the field. Like, it wasn't going to work. And to see them completely abandon that, I think that had a huge hand in how bad Kansas City played. Like, you couldn't put it all on Patrick Mahomes' plate. That O-line got torn apart by that defensive line, and it's still unbelievable to me the fact that they didn't even blitz them. That was just a 4-man rush, and they were getting like the hits on Patrick Mahomes. I will say that was probably the greatest thing I've ever seen, was that one just blew him up on that pass where he got hooked on the arm there. And I think it was Jalen Carter came in there. Probably should have been a hands to the face call, but just blew him the fuck up. We don't care. We're enjoying it. We're laughing our ass off.
Dying at that.
I haven't seen this shit in
I was
so
like,
long.
I haven't seen actually Patrick Mahomes take a hit to the face and no call.
No flag.
And I was like, oh my God. And like, that should have just told you everything you needed to know about what this game was and what it was going to be. Like, the fact that they got away with that, and not even got away, like, that's just like, if you see the hits that were on Mahomes and fucking Josh Allen and Burrow and like, they're not even Mahomes, sorry, Burrow and fucking Lamar, like, these guys have been getting sacked and tackled like that all season long. The one time that it finally goes the other way with Mahomes, and then the Chiefs players on the other end of it just talking shit, saying like, oh, what are you going to say about the refs now? It's like, no, bro. Like, this is the shit that we've been talking about all season long. You just finally got your piece of the pie. Like, it was crazy, but the refs didn't call their stuff. Oh, okay. How does that feel?
I think DeAndre Hopkins said something about the officiating, and
he did.
It should be looked into. It's
sad. I like
the audacity of you to come out and say something like that is pretty remarkable. But not even the officials could affect this game, man, because Philly it was belt to ass, man. Casey didn't have a shot, and I think you can see the deficiencies of the Kansas City Chiefs offense just came to a full head this game. And I mean, it's weird though, because you listen to all the radio shows today, the TV shows, this and that. This is a team that's won the past 2 Super Bowls, made it to 3 in a row. And then they're talking about like, oh, like, this needs to happen. I'm like, even I'm not going to sit up here and just bash and make fun. Like, that's been a remarkable run, first and foremost.
Absolutely.
Hats off to them. Was it amazing to watch them get their shit beat in last night? Yeah, absolutely. And I think the rest of North America is on the same side, right? Like, we're all waiting for this. But yeah, they're going to need some work next year, I think, man. And you look at the team as a whole, lack the run game. Their offensive line clearly has a lot of holes in it now, and it needs work. But I'm really hoping Casey goes through a bit of a period here where, they're going to have to rebuild a little bit. I know it's hard to stay on top all the time, and teams go in cycles. Like, Brady had that big gap in his era where they didn't win Super Bowls for like a stretch of like, what was it, like 8-9 years or something?
10 years.
10 years. So I'm hoping that happens to the Chiefs and they have to retool a little bit here. But man, they look like a tired team, a team that's played a lot of football. I hope Kelsey walks off into the sunset, because the dude does not look great anymore, man.
He looks like a grizzly old vet. Like, he looks like tired. He's just about ready to. He should ride into the sunset. We'll see what happens there, but I know he kind of said that he didn't, but I don't know. We'll see how that plays out. If your body feels like it can do it, then go for it, but at some point it's probably going to be a bigger impact to the team if you're not able to contribute on both sides of the ball really blocking, and he's not a great blocker. He's never really been a great blocker. So like if he can't do that, and maybe you're not getting open and getting those passes to you, like he still performed this season. It's not like he didn't, but there's probably going to be a time when a step will be lost, and it looks like it's coming. Like this was definitely a down season.
The season had a step back. He has not been the same.
And he's got other focus too, right? Like it's not like it's.
I think he can make a lot more money elsewhere. And,
I think he's making a lot more money elsewhere. Between podcasts and just put a ring on it, man, and just ride off into the world, man.
Just move on, pal. I think we're all finished with that narrative, and it was very, very refreshing to see an Eagles team lift the trophy. And let's stop the conversation about how bad KC was, and let's kind of talk more on the Philly side of things and give them their flowers. And first off, is that what you guys wanted to see? Yeah. Jalen Hurts,
Mr. MVP,
Mr. Super Bowl MVP, and I think with all the critics out there, and I was definitely one of them. I still will. I mean, that's what we do. We sit here, we critique individuals in the most team sport. So I'm going to sit here and I'm going to give Jalen his flowers because he played good. Kansas City stopped Saquon, and I'm sure that's what their game plan was. And Jalen went out there and he played ball, man. I got a little scared I know. I got a little scared at the start, though. He threw that pick, and I was like, Jalen's a little shaky sometimes.
Yeah,
it was a bad one.
That was a bad play, and I was kind of like, oh, I don't know about that.
It gave my head a shake there. I was like, don't start doing that shit, Jalen. But man, he played pretty well. So
even if you look at the stats on this, like even from a rushing perspective, right? Like Saquon had 25 carries, not 26, but 25 carries. And I did think that was going to happen. They would just keep trying to rush until that big one got popped off. If it happened,
it happened. Going to abandon it.
Didn't end up happening either. I think his longest one was for 10 yards. Yeah. But 57, right? 25 for 57. So he wasn't very efficient, right? But they just kept hammering it through to him. But then Jalen on the flip side to that was 11 carries for 72 yards. And obviously he had the push. It's hard to kind of not quantify that between both his running game and his passing game. Like he showed up on both sides of the ball here. And honestly, kudos to the guy. And obviously it's just a pressure moment that he's been in before and was able to kind of adapt to it. And just this team in general, I think, just had so much momentum on their side the entire time. And the best part about that was he didn't stop it, right? Like you had just kind of mentioned that pick. I also thought early going, I'm like, oh, that's not a good sign. But then after that, he just kind of settled in. And there was no real concern that I was like, I don't think, they're just kind of running the ball. They're getting it down the gut. Doesn't matter if they pick up a few yards because Jalen was kind of, executing on those other passes and getting them the first down. So it was just a really well played by Jalen Hurts. And honestly, I saw it too. The Bama connection, it's the first 2-0 to get a Super Bowl and a college championship. And I thought that was kind of dope too. So
yeah, that was really cool. I just overall well played by the Eagles, man. Man, you can't say enough about just such a well-rounded team. And I mean, we talked about Sirianni, and everybody was calling for his head earlier in the year.
I mean, he's nuts, man. He's still he's an interesting guy.
And all he's done is he's won games. He's one of the winningest coaches in the last couple of years here, and he's had his team in the Super Bowl 2 out of the last 3 years. And now you just knocked off a team that was going for a three-peat. I think that speaks volumes. Not only that, but to the Philadelphia organization as a whole, from the top to the bottom, ownership, general manager, to the coach, to the team, everybody being on the same page, communicating and doing what it takes to get the best players on that team and working cohesively towards winning a Super Bowl. And man, I just look at this Eagles team, and they're set to be dominant for the next couple of years, and it's remarkable to see after they had the whole Wentz thing and where they were at there. But it makes it a little bit more sweeter too, knowing that Carson Wentz was on the other side of the field there. I thought that was pretty hilarious. To see Philly win 2 Super Bowls, I know he was on the roster, but he wasn't even the starting quarterback because he was injured that season. But that's some funny shit. definitely some funny shit.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, Philadelphia they looked amazing. Hats off to Jalen Hurts and that team. Now let's kind of talk a little bit more about some of our bets that we took and unfortunately didn't cash and how that played out. So initially
Money
on
well
the
spent.
card, yeah,
Fuck
seriously.
it. I don't care.
We touched on a few things and me and Jeff were kind of going back and forth pre-game there, and I think we had the right narrative.
We did.
But unfortunately, like with a game like that, you're not going to be able to hit your props if it's a blowout like that. That's just how it goes, unfortunately. And we could have been right. Like we called the Juju thing. We had Goddard on a lot of it, and he had like one second drive, one catch, 20 yards. That was perfect. We're right where we needed to be. But as soon as you get the pick six for the touchdown, another like there was just
as soon as a pick six happens in a game, it's almost like a guarantee that game's going to get out of hand if it does. And then the possession game comes into play. Like we had talked about, even the rushing side on Kansas City, they had 11 carries as a team, right? And the possession of that game was just not in their hands. And any time that your defense gets a score, it just automatically puts the ball back in the opposite's hands. And we had taken Philly players for the majority on our cards. I know that I had just kind of a mixed duo on a couple things where I had AJ Brown for 50 and Travis Kelce for 50, just anticipating that they would get those short down touch passes and whatever the case. And that didn't happen. The both kind of just fell. I think it was 43 and 39 for the two of them. But that was more just because they didn't have to make those plays. Number one, Patrick wasn't or couldn't. I don't know what that was all about, but it's like he wanted to throw it in the dirt more than he wanted to throw into Travis's hands.
He could not get a throw off, man.
Yeah, aside from obviously like Xavier Worthy, who had a hell of a game, and that guy's going to be a stud next year. So just kind of watch that as that transpires, because he picked up in the second half and just took over for their team. It'll be interesting to see how Rashi and him kind of connect on that receiving core. Because that's obviously an impact there. But we'll see, because Xavier Worthy, man, he's quick, he's fast, and he outblew the duo there. And honestly, at the same time, I was kind of like, I don't think they give a fuck. I think they were kind of letting up to let that score happen just so that they could solidify things. Because that was just in the late game when that big play happened, and
it was a hell of a throw and a catch.
It was a hell of a throw. But it was kind of like you could kind of see it in both of their like defensive backs. Like they were just kind of like, if they score here, it is what it is. You try not to have them score, but even if they do, it's probably better that they do, because then it just shortens that clock even more. So, that was wild. So we had that, and I mean, the game script got ruined. I ended up saying, like, before that game, no matter what, I was gonna take Kansas City plus the points when they get in there, and sucks. I wish I just waited until that pick six happened. But I was like, fuck, I don't want to sleep on this. You never know. Things can turn quick. I got 4.5. I played KC. Didn't go my way because that game just snowballed right after that. But, man, I was telling you before the show, like, I took Philadelphia to win the Super Bowl because I just felt like they had the best team. But when you get caught up in the whole, like, it's tough to go against what you're seeing on the field with the officials. And I placed the bet after we saw the pass interference call on A.J. Brown there, and I was like, fuck, if this game goes that way and I get KC plus points, all they do is play close games. I took that. Unfortunately, it didn't go the way we wanted it to. But like we were saying, money well spent. Yeah, seriously. Like I had joked, I said, like, I'm on Kansas City money line as well. And like the whole time, the whole game, it was so funny when you're like fucking fake God to yourself. Like you just you put the money down and you just watch it happen. It was kind of like doing yourself a favor in a weird way. It was like, hey, if I win this, I win money. If not, fuck it. And we talked about that on the last pod too. Like I'd rather just do that, knowing whatever the money is, it is what it is. But like we are just such fans of the opposite of this, that it was kind of like, fuck it. Yeah. Fly, Eagles, fly. Let's run this shit. Throw the money down on the Chiefs and let's see what happens.
I really wish I had the balls to take Eagles, man.
Yeah, it wasn't far
fucking
off,
paid
too.
out, early payout in the first
that
half.
too.
Like,
Yeah.
that's incredible. That would have been like, dude, I'm up money. I can enjoy the rest of this beatdown. Like, damn, definitely gonna learn my lesson and move on to next year. Remember that one for sure. But hopefully we don't have to worry about the Chiefs in the
You know what's
show
probably
next
the
year.
best part about that in the story that's kind of getting played up a little bit as things are progressing here is just Tom Brady calling that game. Had to have been the funniest, like most ironic thing in the world. That this
Mahomes
guy is
0-2 when Brady's involved in the Super Bowl.
Mahomes is just Brady's just chuckling. There's like a period in the game where he just went silent as a color commentator for like 3 minutes. He's probably just taking shots, being like, "I got this shit. No one's coming close to my shit."
All that GOAT conversation. I think that's done. It's okay. I was thinking about this. I'm like, how amazing is it going into this game? What the narrative is and what a loss can do to like just your legacy as a quarterback. Because there's no room for error when you talk about Tom Brady. The guy was insane, insanely good.
Even in the 3 that he lost, he was still within the score. Right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And now you got it. You look at this. Mahomes has had 2 of the worst Super Bowl showings, and then one against Brady. And then it's like now you have such a mountain to climb. Mahomes is like 30 years old. He's 29, I think. 30 years old. And Brady did this past his 40s, and it's like, okay, now Mahomes is 3-2 in Super Bowls. You got a big stretch, and we just talked about how like the Chiefs are going to have to do a little bit of retooling here. But I don't think anybody's touching Tom Brady, man. As good as Mahomes is, I just don't see anybody being able to touch Brady.
I said as soon as, and we posted on the story on Instagram, I threw it on Twitter, or X, whatever you want to call that thing now, Elon's world. If if you look at that score, it was 24-0 at half, 28-3 was the score, right? And all I said was Tom Brady did it, right?
Yeah.
Like, and if you're going to be in this conversation, and I was in a bar and I was talking a lot of shit last night, just as much as I was that night when they lost, or when Brady came back, and I'm like, if he does this, then I will consider it. I will consider saying, holy shit, this guy's in this conversation 1,000 times over, and should be. You come back and you three-peat on 24-0 at half, you are 100% guaranteed to be in that conversation and should be considered that. But the fact that it was a flop of all flops, it never really transpired. There was never really any sense that Mahomes was that guy to carry them back into it at any point in that game. So I was just like, you can only trust that something had to give for them to be able to do that, and nothing ever happened, and Mahomes didn't show up to do it. So it was like every single time I'm looking back at the Brady era, and that's just another thing which is hilarious to think about. But because of what Mahomes is in this Kansas City Chiefs team, my respect for Brady is all-time high. And we could never say that during the Brady era. We fucking hated Tom Brady. Like, this is just one of those things that obviously you resent greatness in its forms, but like there's something about this Chiefs team that it's just like I don't care to see this team win, and I actually like Brady more because of this team. So it's like, and especially Mahomes and everything that is this Kansas City team. So I just chuckle to myself. I go, fuck it, yo, Brady's the GOAT every time in this conversation. And it's funny because it's just like nothing's really like, he's kind of still as cocky and as arrogant as he is in the booth. And like there's a point in that game when he's like, they say, hey, you were down in the first, and then he went on to say how many times he was down in the first quarter in the Super Bowls. I was like, what an arrogant fuck. But like, hey, this guy, he's a GOAT, man. Like, and it's unquestionable
don't get it twisted,
now.
Though. I still fucking hate Tom Brady, and he caused me the most misery when I was younger.
Absolutely, man.
I think it's a little bit more easy to take in because like now I'm just hating Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs.
It's like a totem of hate. You're
just
like, you're Brady. You're now
because we had Brady for like 20 years, and it was the misery that was Tom Brady and the Patriots, and now it's like. You don't even get a breather before it shifts to another team, and we're going through the same fucking shit.
I
So
wonder what it would be
thank
like for
God
you
that
if it
happened
was like
yesterday.
Joe Burrow and the Bengals. Like, I wonder if the team that was going to be the Bengals
So I
was
want
this
to
team,
know what it's like
what
to
it
just
feels like.
because this is what happens, and it doesn't matter who you are. You get so good that it doesn't matter who you are if you're the most likable to start. Like everybody
Yeah,
loved Mahomes because they were the anti-Brady. They were the ones that were going to dethrone the Patriots, right? But you get so good that you become the villain. Like, and
yeah.
that's what you get made out to be. It doesn't matter. So I always like I sit there and I'm like, man, I wonder what that's like to just be so fucking good that it's you against the world. Like, I
Yeah.
wonder what that
That's
feels
always
like.
what it is. Great. And that's the greatness of it, right? Like we can
It
talk
is.
all we talk and we talk a lot of shit here. But at the end of the
That's how
day,
it goes.
this
They build you up, and then they want to tear you down.
this team and everything that they've gotten, they are on their villain arc because of that, right? Like
Oh
they've
yeah.
they've gone here and they've succeeded and they've achieved, and that's why everyone doesn't like it when you get to the top. And
Yep.
LeBron went through that. He could never beat or, get
Yep.
past Jordan, and he could do whatever he wanted to do, 10 straight finals, whatever it was. Still never in that conversation until
Yeah.
finally passing all-time points. And they're like, you know what, this guy's pretty good. But like even still, there's still a large majority of arguments that are going to say, hey, Jordan's the GOAT here, right? And I think you have to be so good and good character too. And it's funny because Mahomes just, I don't know what it is. It's kind of like I can't get a read on Mahomes' character and like what he's about, and it's just hard to like you're saying about Joe Burrow, right? And just character of people. Josh Allen, you could tell that this guy's just a good fucking dude, and you want
I
to
don't
see this
think
guy succeed. But if
I
Josh
don't think
Allen
any of these
succeeded,
guys
do
are
you think
that.
anyone's being like, "Yo, Josh Allen, like isn't like I want to see Josh Allen fail"? Do you think if the Bills got so good, right, and they actually finally maybe that's what happened next year, right? Maybe they finally take that step over Kansas City. But if that happens,
Color.
yeah, I know. Yeah, whatever. If Josh Allen does that, everyone universally in the NFL and all the fans actually want to see Josh Allen succeed. So if he does that and then maybe continues it, it'd be
It's
interesting to
always
see
yeah.
if that uh, dilemma would come into fans would be like, nah, fuck this guy,
I
because
don't
I don't think that could
think
happen.
I think you have to win consecutively. Like you have to constantly be there, right? Like it's the narrative with anyone. Like the 49ers. Like if you're in the NFC, you hate the 49ers because they were always there. They're always in the championship game, right? And then you look at, other teams, it just comes down to winning. And if they're so dominant, you get sick of it, right? It's just
Yeah,
like the voter fatigue for MVP. Like you just get sick of it, and then you start to build up this resentment for them. But I think it's especially true with the Chiefs just because of the fact that the officiating and everything, like that was becoming, and the Taylor Swift stuff, like it was more than just
well,
a
it's
team that was really
nauseating.
good.
Yeah,
Yeah, it was
but
it
like
was
the
fucking
whole, like I
ridiculous.
feel like Patrick Mahomes, his character, plus Travis Kelsey's arrogance, plus the fucking Swifty effect with just no, I don't think anyone really likes Taylor Swift fans. Sorry, about to get
No,
ridiculed on that one. Don't give a
none of them.
fuck.
Yeah,
Just in general. So now you have this like triple entendre of just bullshit that
yeah,
people just are
nonsense.
like, I don't want any part of this. Like, and on top of that, you got the ref situation, you got the
Yeah.
fans of Kansas City being like, what do you mean? I don't get it. Like, what do you mean you don't get it? And so
Yeah.
it's just compounded by like, no, I'm done. I'm sick of that. I
Yeah.
don't want to see that
We're all
anymore.
fucking sick of
Yeah.
that shit. We want to see football and we want to see competitive football. I don't want to hear about your Taylor Swift narratives when I'm trying to watch a fucking football game on Sunday, man. Like, dude, it's ridiculous. So yeah, I'm hoping Kelsey packs it the fuck up and we can be done with that next year and get onto some fresh shit.
Yeah.
But when you say that,
Till she goes with the Super Bowl next year.
yeah, fuck sakes. I think I don't, and this is from a football perspective side and a person perspective. Like, I don't think any of these quarterbacks, none of them, they're all amazing people. Like take away the football side of things. Patrick Mahomes is a great guy, and what these people do outside of that, what we do on this show, nobody's attacking the person. It's the football player And that's all it is at the end of the day. Because we know all these guys are great. They're great in their community. They do great things. Like even Josh Allen, like amazing person, wins the MVP. We're all happy for him. Although there's the arguments that Lamar should have won it, this and that, yada, yada, yada. If he consecutively won, it doesn't matter how good of a person you are. Like Brady was a good person. He still is a good person, but we fucking hated him because he drove us insane.
Yeah.
Right? And it's that competitive edge. And yeah, you're going to get chippy and you're going to jaw with people. Same way Kelsey is right now. Like I would be the exact same on the field. And if everybody fucking hated me, I would let that fuel me up too. Right? Like that's just how it goes. Yeah. And it's all part of the entertainment value too, man. If we didn't have the villain side of things, it's just like every superhero movie. If there wasn't a villain, there wouldn't be a fucking story.
Yeah. No, it's true.
So you got to have it.
It is an entertainment product at the end of the day. And
it is.
Yeah, it's I get it. I think
it's all about narratives, man.
Yeah. There are elements where, hey, we could say what we want to say, but no, it's these guys are competitive and they're competitors. And if you've played sports before, especially at a highly competitive level, yeah, you get really back and forth in your feelings about different things, and shit can kind of go and your emotions play its course, right? Which can definitely feed a narrative that means like, oh, this guy's not a good guy, or this guy's, selfish, or this guy's that and the other. Because even all those conversations came up even earlier about it with like AJ Brown during the season with Philly. And at the end of the day, this guy's literally just trying to figure his shit out, just trying to figure his life out. And along the way, you're getting to see that, right? So it's like you're just kind of being a bystander to some situations that maybe you don't fully understand or know about. But still, even at the end of the day, I just you got to have some sort of like, you have some sort of villain arc here. And that was so funny because we were saying between Philly and Kansas City, these are two worst teams that we did not want to see succeed this year. The only person that we were saying, hey, I really want to see get their chip is Saquon. And that was just because of all the tormented shit that he went through with the Giants. So it's like,
that's all it was.
Get that. It's awesome.
I think we can all collectively say we're all cheering on Saquon. Great dude coming from the Giants and just not having any team success there and seeing him win in the first year and taking that team over the hump is pretty fucking remarkable. Pretty remarkable. But on the Philly, this is probably two of the worst teams to cheer for in all of the NFL. That city is literally
burning down right now.
Honestly.
Like if you saw the clips, man, I don't know what it is with that either. Like I get it. Like I get that like sports and just to have that moment is maybe a once in a lifetime situation, right? But like burning down parts of your city and like looting and shit and doing what you do just for the sake of chaos is just the stupidest, lowest form of human behavior possible. And I'm not shocked. I'm not shocked that happened in Philly. They were lubing up the fucking poles the last time, like trying to keep these people off the fucking lampposts. Yeah. But like that's insanity. Like fucking celebrate, have a good time. Don't burn anything down. What the fuck are we doing? I'm like, that's insane. Like if the Leafs won, I'm sure Toronto will burn. Like I'm guaranteed it will.
Bro, you guys won a fucking series and you burned. Like you guys beat.
Not really. That's a fabrication. Vancouver burned their shit down in the fucking finals, and I think that was
a mess.
Looters and other bullshit. But again, crazy. Like I don't understand that form of it. Maybe it's just an excuse that maybe criminals see as an opportunity to be like, fuck it, no one's gonna know otherwise. They're just gonna think it's a bunch of sports fans that are being idiots.
Yeah.
But yeah, I thought that was wild. I was like, there's a fire in the street. Police are like literally trying to like curb a crowd. Shit's like a girl's like pulling out of a dress out of a broken window today on a feed. I was laughing. I was like, what is going on in Philly?
Man, I would just be happy, like celebrate. Like why would you be doing like shit like that? I just never understood that. Yeah. And I feel like because that's a narrative that people feel like they need to do dumb shit like this. Like I would just be so happy and elated just my team won the Super Bowl. I would be doing the complete opposite. I would love everybody. I would be paying for drinks for everybody. I would be doing everything.
Everybody love everybody.
That's literally the mentality I would have. Like nothing can hurt me right now. Like can you imagine if you demolished the team that everybody hates? Like being an Eagles fan right now, it must feel fucking incredible.
Fantastic.
It must feel incredible to take down and slay the giant that is the Chiefs. I want that feeling. I mean, I know what that's like to take them down in the AFC Championship game. That was probably the greatest feeling I've ever felt as a Bengals fan. And I've just been chasing that high ever since. So I'm jealous that Philly got to do that on the biggest platform, man. It's crazy. So fuck, what an ending to that year. But last touch, how'd you feel about the halftime show?
I was just about to ask you the same question.
Us being from North America, like Canada, we're the Drake side of things, right? So
so I'm a fan of both artists. Like I'm like on the Drake side of things, and on like I think there's been a domination of a decade for Drake in terms of the music industry. And just like Kanye and Drake had their beef, and then it passed the torch to Drake, and then Drake had beef, obviously Kendrick, and then now the torch has been passed to Kendrick. It was definitely like super political, knowing what's happening with us up in Canada and what's happening with the States right now, and just all the weird shit that's going on with that relationship. It's weird to watch it from that perspective. I did think it was a good show. Is it the best all time? No, but it was definitely very artistic and political. Every single thing had a meaning behind it. There was so much symbolism in it. I thought that Hey Drake was diabolical. Like I was like, to have that on a worldwide stage is probably one of the funniest, most petty things I've ever witnessed in my entire life. And just fuck.
To have Serena doing the crip walk,
the Serena as well. Like that's another thing of just like
it's just a giant diss Drake,
just an absolute
show right now.
Yeah, but it's funny because you could tell that like I don't think Drake gives a fuck at the end of the day, and I think there's more probably angst on Kendrick's side right now because Drake's just making his money, and now there's a bunch of things about Drake going independent as an artist, and he's just gonna make a fucking ton of money. He doesn't give a shit. Hopefully he stays out of like whatever the hell's going on with the whole narrative there. But fuck, like I think it doesn't matter. I think it was a good show. I thought it was a good show. What'd you think?
I don't know, man. Ever since I was like, hip hop just isn't my thing as much anymore.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think it's with age, and I just the quality of it to me. Maybe not the same. I'm not a big music guy, though. You're not going to put stock in my feelings towards this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But I thought the performance could have been better. You know, I don't know if it was a great performance per se, but I don't know, man. I just feel like the crowd that you're catering to when it comes to the Super Bowl is a little bit more gen pop and not so niche, but you got to mix it up like that. And you
it was like
those guys.
They don't usually do that. Like maybe it was 4 years ago that they had all the like main like 90s and 2000s like kind of stars of hip hop and R&B kind of do their show, and Kendrick was a part of that too, with the LA game. But like I did find it unless it's got that nostalgic feel to it, and people would know who those people are. What I've seen more is like people don't know who Kendrick was, which is kind of funny to me. Like that you don't know who that is in the grand scheme of things right now if you're not really into music. But in the grand scheme, like he's more of an artist. He's more of like that, like you said, that kind of niche artist that's big in the world, massive in at least the States and definitely LA. But yeah, I would just kind of chuckle at the whole narrative behind it. But it was super political. I don't have to get into all that, but like every single thing that they were doing, it was a shot, right? Like there was a lot of things in it.
You're given the platform, right?
You get the platform. The dude's in the building. How can you not say it? I think there was a line where he said, the wrong thing, but the right time, but the wrong guy. And that was just a direct shot with the flag. Like I was like, whoa, like there's a lot of shit going on here that we'll probably not understand where we're coming from, but there's a lot of shit that's happening in the States for sure. And and it was on display there in that halftime show. So crazy.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. It's unfortunate that the game sucked and was very anticlimactic, and you get those, man. You get those. Sometimes you don't get, like the Super Bowl they played a couple years back was crazy. It was super entertaining. The halftime show was Rihanna. It was just a way better product. But man, you're gonna get that. I'm afraid to see what the halftime show is gonna be like 15, 20 years from now, man. Like
It has
to
definitely
me,
like.
music is. I don't really know where we're at right now with music.
Well, I
I think
laughed because it was like I saw this clip online. And it was like the 2000s to 2009, Super Bowl performances. It was like Phil Collins in 2000.
yeah.
It was like a Tarzan song, and I was dying.
Yeah,
I was
I
like,
think we got
what
away
a
from that
fucking
one.
different world we're in. My
Yeah.
God.
It's wild to see where we're at in the world, but
Yeah.
yeah, it's not a great such a good feeling like we talked about. Amazing to see Kansas City get their ass beat on national television in prime time, Super Bowl. But at the same time, you're kind of almost like fuck, like shitty game. All right, now there's no more football. Now we're on the draft season. Let's talk about that. And
Yeah.
I think that's exciting in a sense too, because it's like, okay, sick. Now we don't got to go through an off season of like talking about how Kansas City and their three-peat and all that nonsense. That's the best part about this is like you can shut that shit off, and now we can just enjoy this off season of what's going on in the NFL, because that's what makes the NFL so good. But that's going to be wicked because we're going to dive into some of that. And I know,
Absolutely.
me and Chappy here have been trying to figure out like what's the best way that we can get you guys, some of the data, the analytics, and give you guys as much information as we possibly can moving forward about the sport, whether that's in terms of like sports betting and being more visible with that, or it comes down to fantasy football. And we want to dive more into these because we love it. We talk about it on a daily basis. And I know information it's tough to get good information to make decisions on your own. So we want to be the guys that supply you with that stuff. So we're going to be working on some stuff in the off season, making sure we can help you guys out with that. And really just collectively diving into anything sports. And I think, Chappy, we're getting into the basketball side of things here.
Yep.
Trying to get those analytics going and giving you guys platforms to pull information on and make informed decisions on your sports bets and all that stuff. So just got to give it time. We're putting in the work behind the scenes, but we appreciate you guys tuning into these things. I think that's a wrap on the Super Bowl recap podcast here, man. Chappy,
It's a wrap to the NFL season, man.
that is a wrap, man.
We will miss you. It was definitely like shit. I was like, oh, it's done. What are we doing? What's going on here now?
I know we got no more to talk about.
Hey, we got Luka making his debut tonight, so
Yes,
I'm going to
we
be
do.
definitely watching that and see how that
Okay,
goes.
wait a second. I need to know. Is Luka going? So there's a super boost on Bet365.
Yeah.
For Luka double. Does that happen tonight?
Luka double. I don't know how he's going to fit into this team. I think he's definitely double. I think
his
double
line
is
is
probably
27
a pretty
and
good.
a half points. So
Yeah, I think it's probably a pretty good bet to kind of base that on. But he's been hurt. He's coming off. He might have a minutes restriction, right? And that's where I would kind of lean into probably not. And sometimes when those boosts they come at you, they kind of play in the like line of what they know also probably won't happen.
They just throw it out there. They get the bait.
It's kind of like on the flip side of that, like 50%. They're probably leaning more like 45% chance, and they're like, "Yeah, let's throw this out there and see what happens." But no, I think so. Right now, like when we're just talking analytics, I have them for 22, 6, and 6. So if that comes through, you heard it here first. But
Straight
I
off
don't
of
necessarily
Chappy's
think
magic stat sheet over there.
yeah,
So
I don't think necessarily he's going to get a double on a minutes restriction. I think that's a little, we'll see. But hey, maybe he's healthy. Maybe he's out for blood. Maybe he's got a revenge game in him. And maybe it's, just, hey, here I am. Welcome to LA. Let me drop a shit ton of points and maybe go for a triple-double. I saw an actual boost on a triple-double, funny enough, and I was like, that's wild.
That is wild.
But it'll take some acclimating to this team and understanding certain things. And maybe JJ just kind of says, hey, go out and play. And just kind of let's see how things work out and at the end of the day, and nothing to fit into the system just yet. Just kind of let's kind of figure this out as we go. And maybe that just kind of loosens them up a bit and goes off. But it'd be interesting to see how that goes. I wonder what let's just take a quick look at these lines. I'm just gonna be all giddy now. Like a double-double.
I know. Dude, and now I'm like, okay, football's done. And I was telling you, I'm like, fuck, I need to start learning more about the basketball side of things here so I can play with some of the betting side
You know what
on
fucked up? I just
the
went into
NBA
Dallas.
lines.
Yeah, I just went into Dallas and was like, that's fucking crazy. I was like, oh, let me go into the Dallas game
Forgot
and
he's
see
on
what
the
his lines
Lakers.
are. His force of habit.
But we got to start talking about that. And the good thing about basketball is you get that every night too. So it's it's good to talk about that stuff on the regular and kind of get that going.
I did see another one where it was like 55 points between Luka and LeBron. Luka's line just locked, so I can't even see it. But 25.5 is LeBron's line. And I wonder what this thing says about LeBron.
Yeah, that fucking
25, 9, and 8.
25, 9, and 8.
So that'd be an under on the 25.
Interesting.
25.5.
I feel like LeBron's gonna. What's his assist tonight? LeBron's assists. I feel like he's gonna just fucking feed Luka.
7.5 at minus.
Go off, my guy.
And I had 9.
Yeah, clearly juiced towards the over.
Yeah,
I like that. I might have to sneak a little.
And what's the rebound here? 7.5, and I have 8. So
okay. Well, there you go. You got a sneak peek into Chappy's magic stat sheet over there, and we're gonna see how that plays out. But we appreciate you guys tuning in again to the show. Now, before we jump off here, I know it's the end of the year, Chappy. I want before we get into all the off-season stuff, I want the 2 teams that are going to be in the Super Bowl next year. You got to give me those 2 right off the top. End of the year, they always do this shit every talk show. I want your 2 teams that are going to be in the show next year.
I'm going to go ahead and say the Bills are going to make it.
Oh, fuck.
I like the Bengals. I you know how I feel about that team. I think they need to sign their guy. In order for that to happen.
Plural.
Guys, lots of people to kind of get sorted out there. But I think, if anything, there's only room, honestly, to get better in Buffalo. Coming off of what they've done here, and also just like, I think they're just a good team that's going to continue to grow and get better. And they can make some plays here at some good people too. So it'll be interesting to see how that kind of offseason progresses. And then on the flip side, I think I'm just going to stick with the Eagles, man. Like, I think that team is going to make it back. If nothing falls short there on their team, I'm going to say fly, Eagles, fly, and they're going to be right back at it. I think Detroit is just an interesting kind of coaching situation that's going to have to be really worked out, and maybe they come back and they're way healthier, and we'll see how that plays. But those are going to be the 2 teams that I'm going to be looking at on the NFC side. So I think definitely Philly, though, is going to make it back. How about you?
I mean, I'm going to be a little different. I know I would say Philadelphia, too, because I do think they're an amazing team, and they could be the next team that's just, powerhouse if they hang on to their guys and they do their thing. But I'm going to throw the San Francisco 49ers in there.
I like that one.
On the NFC side of things, because I think we all forgot about that team and what they're capable of.
Be interesting to see what happens with Purdy. But yeah.
Yeah. So I think, they'll have a team back and running. I think they're going to be good. They're going to be contending. I think I'm going to take the Bengals just because it's Joe Burrow, but it's so contingent on everything we do in the offseason. If we go through another offseason and we fluff off our players and we don't do what it takes, then we're never going to win or compete again. It doesn't feel right. So if I'm going to look on the other side of things, I'm not taking the Chiefs because fuck that. I think we're going to go with I'm gonna hope and pray here, and I'm gonna roll with the Bengals. I'm gonna say they make it. It's Bengals San Fran. I think Baltimore's had 2 good years here. They whiffed, and I think we catch up. We play a little catch up. We get a little hungry this year, so that's my play. We'll see how that plays out.
I like it.
Awesome. All right, appreciate you guys tuning in. Awesome end of the year here. Eagles really capping that off for us. We're excited to talk ball in the offseason. We'll get more of the basketball stuff like we were talking about too. But we appreciate you guys tuning in. Chappy and Bengals. See you guys later.
Easy.